Good afternoon to the marathon session of the MTA today. We are doing the CPOC committee. Any public comment? Anybody here from the public to comment? No? Okay. Could I have approval of the minutes of May 22nd, please? Moved. Seconded? Any opposed? So moved. Committee work plan.
No change in the chairman. However, I'd like to mention that as an outgrowth of the Blue Ribbon Panel recommendation to perform risk analysis as presented in March, we've begun a 30-day risk-informed review of the New York City Transit Systems and Communications project. Because of this and the fact that we've begun the process, we won't have any results until the October CPOC, and as a result, we will not be. We've not provided the off-cycle quarterly reports for those projects.
Thank you. Thank you. We have
Commitments completion.
Committee's complete commitments completions update, please.
Okay. MTA committed $1.15 billion through May 2008. This is 63% of the planned commitments of $1.83 billion. New York City Transit committed $615 million, or 60% of its plan of $1.03 billion. The two Brighton Line station rehab for $47 million has slipped to June pending approval of a budget amendment. As reported last month, 126 express bus procurement for $73 million has slipped to June, pending validation of structural modifications. The Bleecker Street Station rehab and intermodal for $64 million has been delayed to July, also pending approval of budget amendment. And the purchase of 190 articulated buses for $69 million is pending a plan amendment to be deferred to the next capital plan. Long Island Railroad committed $232 million, or 92% of its plan of $253 million. Metro North committed $65 million, 95% of its plan of $68 million. Capital Construction committed $214 million, or 57% of its plan of $373 million. This is primarily due to slippage in award of the Madison Yard demolition for $67 million until August, and the Harrell Interlocking Central Instrument location for $41 million until September. Bridges and Tunnel committed $22 million, or 54% of its plan of $41 million. This is mostly due to a delay in award of the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge approach design for $6 million until June, and the Triborough Bridge Building 104 construction administration for $8 million until August. MTA Bus committed $6 million, or 10% of its plan of $63 million. This is due to delay in award of the engineering design services for $5 million until July, construction and management services until August, and delay of the joint purchase of 72 articulated buses for $46 million, along with New York City Transit, as discussed to the next capital plan. Completions. MTA completed $809 million through May. This is 48% of the plan, completions of $1.7 billion. New York City Transit completed $758 million, or 66% of its plan of $1.15 billion. This is mostly due to delay in completion of the Bergen Street Solid State Interlocking Pilot Project for $72 million until July. Completion of automatic train supervision for the A Division for $208 million until September, and acceptance of 29 R160B Division cars for $50 million until December. I'd like to note that this is a decrease in the backlog of the R162, so that's a good sign. December.
Do you happen to know if those are the Kawasaki or the Alstoms?
They're the B cars, so they would be the Alstoms.
And they've caught up on their delivery.
Yes, they're caught up with delivery, but there was some increase in terms of the backlog, working on the backlog, yes.
Yeah, just, Ron, if I could.
Yes.
Kawasaki, they are actually both are involved in the production of the 160s. Kawasaki is pretty much stayed on schedule. Alstom is showing signs of catching up a little bit.
Thank you, Howard. Long Island Railroad completed $18 million, or 12% of its plan of $154 million. Richmond Hill improvements for $23 million are delayed until May, and the Atlantic Terminal for $100 million until December. Metro North completed $17.3 million, or 79% of its plan of $21.8 million. This is due to delay in acceptance of 7 coaches, that's Comet and Endors, for $4.4 million until December. Capital Construction completed $1 million, or less than 1% of its plan of $361 million. This is due to delayed completion of South Ferry Terminal structure for $292 million and the Battery Place vent plant for $25 million until June. Bridges and Tunnel completed $14 million, or 100% of its plan.
Thank you. Thank you. We're now going to hear this from Mr. Cortez with New York City Transit. Hiya. Yeah, we want to hear you.
Okay, good.
Sure.
The South Ferry delay, how far into the future is that?
This is now the structural box we're talking about. It's not the overall project, right? The finishes is still on schedule. This is the structural box. The issue there, remember, is the leak remediation, the acceptance of the user department to satisfy substantial completion of the box. And they're discussing the issues, and it appears June. It's getting close. It may not be June, but it's not impacting the overall completion schedule of the finishes work.
Waiting for the video.
Not starting until it's in focus.
Yes. All right. Oh, wonderful. Okay, here we go. Okay, good afternoon. This afternoon I will update you on the status of the projects in my division. The system, what's going on? The system map that shows the progress we have made in addressing our station so far. The red dots are stations we have addressed. The yellow dots are stations that are currently in construction. We have 96 on the Bordershead Avenue line. Columbus Circle, that's the 59th Street I&D and the IRT stations, and the J Street in downtown Brooklyn. The hollow yellow dots are stations where we are providing vertical access, and the blue are stations that we currently have in design. That translates in 222 stations that we have addressed since 1982, and 4 stations are in construction, 46 are in design, and the remaining are post-2009 capital program.
Whatever you tell us today is likely to be set back, obviously.
In the design, yes, but the project that we have in either constructions are progressing, but in design, yes, we may have some setback. In the ADA, we are at the same time we are making a tremendous progress towards achieving our commitment of having 67 stations ADA compliant by 2010 and 100 by the year 2020. I'm happy to report by the middle of July, we will meet our first milestone of having 67 accessible key stations upon completion of Church Avenue on the Culver line and Union Turnpike on the QBL line. In addition, we have 16 non-key stations, 10 stations are in construction, and the remaining are post-2009 capital program. Currently in my program area, we have 76 projects in design, 27 in construction, and 19 in closeout, for a total value of $2 billion. Recently completed projects. We have the 5 stations on the Joe Avenue line. Were completed in December, 6 months ahead of schedule, and we realized a savings of $3 million. The scope of work included the installation of new windscreen, canopies, repairs and replacement of corroded steel, reconstruction of platform edge, progressive AD improvement, and new staircase and new railings. The Wall Street stations was done in 2 projects. The first project was the roof replacement contract completed in December 2006. Also, we have the station normal replacement contract completed in March of this year, 14 months ahead of its original schedule. And we also realized a saving of $5 million for those 2 projects. The project scope included, but not limited to, repair and replace of deteriorated beams. And we had to hand excavate and temporarily supported the utilities that we encountered at Wall Street and Rector to do the waterproofing of the roof at Wall Street.
Seymour, if I could ask you this question.
Yes.
The picture you showed, the slide before that showed the terrible water, that one.
Yes.
We have actually done a station survey, and we have found similar conditions all over. When you do a renovation like this, and the water infusion is caused by a third party as opposed to just normal rain, who pays for that part of it?
Unfortunately, when we are doing the station rehab, the transit do all the water.
But if you haven't fixed the problem that the third party has, isn't it just going to continue after the station is finished?
We did have Con Ed replace the section of pipe over this area that.
I'm not referring to Wall Street, just in general,
yeah,
obviously.
at Wall Street.
Yeah.
If we can find somebody to blame.
And what we come across, as you will see in our tunnels, between any tunnels that we have between our bores, we don't have any water infiltration in the tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
It's due mainly because of what you just said, of all the utilities company trenching, excavating alongside in the city and damaging our waterproofing, and we have that conditions. But who to put the blame on is very hard to do, unfortunately.
Mostly, we're below groundwater levels, so we're wet.
But if you go to 51st Street on the downtown Lexington side, the north end of the platform, you'll see a real Rube Goldberg contraption to redirect water that's coming in at all times. So it must be from not rain, but from somebody's kitchen or who knows what, somebody's bathroom, and it's diverted in various ways and then goes down a drain finally. So obviously that's not something of your causing or Transit's causing, but we have to pay for that. So does Capital Construction then contact anybody who's upstairs and ask, or somebody do an inspection to see why this water is coming in, or do we just accept the water?
Yeah, Andrew, over the years, I can remember here in the 80s when we were testing all the water to see if it was chlorinated, so we could tag the city water system, if it was. It is very, very difficult, as Connie says, to figure out exactly whether it is rainwater or whether it is seepage from a building or whether it's a water main that is leaking. And so our basic responsibility is to try to seal the stations so that no matter from whence it comes, that we try to keep it from creating that kind of condition. But I mean, it absolutely is our biggest station's problem.
Oh,
If you had to say, what is the worst problem, and if you could solve one problem and make the biggest difference in the condition of the stations, that's the problem.
I only bring it up because you did a magnificent, not you personally, but Transit did a magnificent renovation job at Nevin Street, and the water infusion there is such that it has undone all of the beautiful renovation that was done.
Well,
I'm sorry.
one of the things you're not talking about, there are literally hundreds of streams underneath Manhattan.
Yeah.
And most of them aren't even mapped. So you've got a problem on top of that. I mean, I having built in the city, I know there are lots of them, and people just don't know where they start, where they end, and where they go. And I'm sure a lot of it is having to do with that. Not that I'm sure there aren't some things we could correct. An awful lot of streams just are not accounted for in this town.
Yeah, Andrew, if you remember when we did the flood report, we identified that Transit pumps out 13 million gallons of water a day on a dry day.
Yeah, and this goes back to once upon a time there were a bunch of private water companies, particularly in Queens and Brooklyn. There wasn't a city water system. And a lot of the subway was designed with the water table that existed when those private water companies were pumping on a full-time basis. When those water companies shut down, the water table, which might have been in some of the tunnels, might have been 4 feet under the track level, then came up so that it was 5 feet above. And as Jerry says, that's why we have to pump so much water out of the system. A lot of places we're literally under track. The top of the track is well under the water table.
Okay, good. Sure.
You showed a photograph of, I think it was Marshallou Parkway, that station.
Yes.
Is that now sort of the template for all above-ground elevated stations? Are they all going to look like this? Is there a standardization of design, or is that an outlier?
We will love to, but with the financial difficulties that we are facing right now, we may have to redesign our stations to a low, I will not say to a lower standard, but something that will be very appropriate for our customers.
So on, for example, on the Pelham Bay line, the 10 stations that I think the cost was something like $237 million, those are for a different standard of finish than this, or?
On the Pelham line, those 9 stations, we are going to have a set of both those windscreen and the porcelain ceramic panels. And they are going to, once we are done, our customers will really see a difference. We are not going to use the same corrugated panels that we have currently using.
Okay.
Not as expensive as, yes.
Well, for that amount of money, I would hope they'd be seeing something nicer.
Okay, you definitely will see something nice, find something nicer on the Pelham line, and also the Far stations.
Corrugated ceramic.
No, I said before that we have the corrugated panels, but we have the old one that we are not going to replace them. And at 135th Street, that project was completed on schedule, and we had a ribbon cutting ceremony held on May 15th of this year. The scope included the installation of 2 ADA-compliant elevators, relocation of stairs and employee facilities, and installation of closed-circuit TV and talkback system. At Herald Square, those 12 escalator replacement projects were completed in January of 2008 at a cost of $35.6 million. I have a small video to show you our customers. Oh, sorry. What's going on? Can. Oh. Of our customer using our escalators. Like this. Yeah. And as you see, every time a train comes into the station, our customers use the escalators to come from the platform into the mezzanine. Continuing at...
And sometimes when there's no trains coming in.
Yes. At 116th Street Station on the Rockaway Park, we have one of the non-key stations with a total project value of $7.4 million was completed on schedule. ADA-compliant access is provided by ramps from the street into the mezzanine and also from the mezzanine onto the platform. Wherever possible, we will continue providing ADA access to our station by providing ramps. And the $69.2 million Metal Wyckoff complex was completed in February of 2008. The scope included the installation of 3 ADA-compliant elevators, consolidation of employee facilities, restoration of canopy, upgrade of vertical services, and the construction of a new control area.
That is like night and day to what was there before.
Yes, I don't have a pre-existing photos. You are correct, Andrea. Project we currently have in construction, the Columbus Circle complex. We will do the rehabilitation of both the I&D 8th Avenue station and the 59th Street 3rd Avenue stations. We are providing 1 ADA-compliant elevator and rehabilitation and consolidations of employee facilities.
Seymour, what's the status of the escalator that's out there for so long now?
This one here has been done by the AOL.
Oh, no wonder.
And 2 weeks ago, they requested spare parts from the New York City Transit Authority. We are going to provide them with the spare parts, and they will, once they get those long lead items, they are going to replace them. But they should come online, I believe, very quickly.
The Herald Square escalators that were put in January, have they been operating without incident?
No, we have had problems. We have had some warranty issues. and with the contractors and our maintenance staff are really attending to those problems. We try to place them in service as quickly as they go out of service. And that's the new construction of a new entrance and control area at the northwest corner of 68th Street, servicing the IRT southbound platform. The entrance will open by the end of this month. That's a view of the entrance from the platform looking down. And at the same time, work is ongoing throughout the complex. The project completion is forecasted for the summer of 2009. The escalator replacement project at Roosevelt Island is scheduled to achieve substantial completion in December of 2007. At this time, we are forecasting that we will be done much earlier, maybe by October or by September or November or October of this year.
So are all these new escalators going to be the kind that we read about that don't start until somebody engages them?
Yes, and that's what we call the instead of sleep mode. Yes, and
Saves
those.
a considerable amount of energy.
That's what we are. They will save us a few dollars, and at the same time, right now I think Paul, if Paul is here, he can tell you what's been done prior to putting those in service.
They're not actually stopped. They're just moving very slowly in the sleep mode.
Prior to installing the escalators, they are tested in the factory. The tests are witnessed by our engineers and maintenance staff. This photo shows the load test and brake test being conducted. Upon activation of any safety device or power failure which requires to stop the escalator, a down-running escalator should stop at a deceleration rate no greater than 9 inches at a speed of 90 feet per minute. The truss of the escalator is designed to support the dead weight of the escalator plus the specified customer load. It is made of high-dip galvanized and has ample strength to safely retain the steps and running gears in case of failure. And we have the LiftNet transmitter monitor the escalator and communicate seamlessly with New York City Central receiving system located at 34th Street Station.
So that's the machinery room for an escalator, just so you know that it's a lot more than what you see.
And the ADA accessibility at Union Turnpike will achieve substantial completion in July. Upon completing this project and the Church Avenue ADA project on the cover line, New York City will achieve the first milestone of 67 key stations 2 years ahead of schedule. Progressing to 96th Street, this project is a local and express stop on the 1 and 2, 3 trains on the Broadway Side Avenue line. The purpose of this project is to improve customer circulations, convenience, and safe access. The project will be fully ADA compliant. Up here, the elevators that will take you to either the southbound or northbound platform will be fully ADA compliant. To accommodate the new station in the median of Broadway, the street between 93rd and 97th have to be reconstructed or realigned. And the project requires coordination with the several of city agencies and utilities companies. As you will see here, Con Edison is doing some. We'll be locating some utilities for us at the corner at one of the intersections on Broadway. Moving down to G. Lawrence Transfer Connections, that project is also on schedule to be completed on time. We have the underpinning of the building on both sides of Willoughby is almost complete. And that's a typical utility that we encounter anytime we are doing any excavations or we are providing any elevators or staircase in the city. And those are temporary supported. Project in design, as you mentioned earlier, on Bleecker Street. I expect that project to be ordered by the third quarter of this year. The scope is to restore the station historic elements, repair structural deficiencies throughout the stations, widen the southbound platform, and extend the south end of the northbound platform to connect to the new control area. and we'll provide 5 ADA compliant elevators to make the complex fully ADA accessible. At East 180 in the Bronx, the scope also is to restore the finishes of the historic element of the buildings, rehabilitate the station operating facilities, and provide ADA, 2 ADA compliant elevators to serve both the island platforms. Despite
that is great that you're rehabbing the old New York, Westchester, and Boston
Yes.
building there, which is a classic.
Good.
Almost looks like a golf course on the south side of it.
Correct. And finally, the second station on the Brighton line will be awarded into 2 contracts. The first contract includes the rehabilitation of Avenue U and Neckwood. It should be awarded by the 3rd quarter of this year. And the second contract should be awarded. The remaining 5 stations will be awarded by the 4th quarter. The scope of work includes the complete demolition and reconstruction of the platform at 5 stations, progressive ADA improvement at 6 of those locations, provide ADA elevators at Kings Highway, and restorations of the landmarks building at Avenue H, upgrade and our electrical, lighting, and communication system. This is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer to them all.
Thank you. That was great. Any questions? Carter Burgess. Jerry.
We have nothing to add. I just one little point, Doreen. On the 34th Street station, Transit was trying out a new supplier at the time, and the supplier may not have been fully conversant with the standards and the reliability requirements of Transit. So that may be one of the reasons they've had some of the breakage problems that they've had starting it up, because it's a new vendor.
Is this going to get fixed completely with this vendor, or are you going to have to?
Actually, from what I heard from the vendor, they will stop doing business with us.
But it will be fixed.
But it will be
yes.
fixed.
And it will be maintained by another company then?
No, actually, our people, if we have any warranty issues, we will always call the vendor to come in and fix them. But if we have any maintenance and repair, our staff, our maintenance staff will take care of it.
We have our own escalator that we train people on, believe it or not.
In Brooklyn?
Yeah, we're out in Brooklyn, so we do have the capacity to teach people how to do it and depend on ourselves eventually. Is there anything else? That
Just a last question, Seymour. You said the other stations on the Brighton line were coming. Are they not delayed? Didn't we hear they're delayed due to the backyard incursion problems?
No, all the real estate issues have
No,
been
that was the discussion of why they were costing so much.
That's
Yeah.
okay, so they're not delayed.
Right.
Great.
We bid all 7 stations, and the cost not only came in high, we had 3 bidders. The costs were it was a perfect example of the escalation we're experiencing. The costs were high, and then the low bidder backed out because he wasn't willing to hold his cost. So that's why we split it up.
For those of you who've stuck with us this long, we're going to change the nature of these meetings a little bit starting the next meeting. Linda, you want to give just a minute on what we're going to try to do?
Sure. I think we tried to send out a letter, the chairman did, to CPOC board members and other board members. We have, as you may recollect, when we proposed the new 8 to 14, whatever it was, 8 to 13 program, we indicated that we were going to start doing risk assessments of larger projects. And we actually have already started those on some projects, and we're putting together a list of projects in the capital program that would be the kinds that we'd expect to do risk assessments on, large or complex, complicated, IT, or projects. I'm thinking we should figure out a way to do one on stations where we're seeing trends that we want to try and understand how to evaluate those risks. And we would use the CPOC to present the risk assessments, what the categories of risk were, what mitigations, if any, we think we could accomplish based on the risk, what the range of costs and time are likely to be. One of the things I think you've all commented about is sometimes we come with a date and a cost, and then, you know, the next time you see that project, it's a new date and a new cost. So we think this will be a way of preventing that, and it also will give CPOC the opportunity to raise risks that you may think we've missed, indicate mitigations that you may think are useful for the project to consider, and more input early on into these projects, or even not early on as they're moving, so that we can tell you when a risk is passed and whether we've successfully avoided it or we ran smack into it and what the implications for the project are. So the chairman's idea here was it would allow for a more interactive and substantive discussion of projects with you all.
We're going to move away from pretty pictures and try to get on to some more substantive issues so that this committee does a little bit harder work as opposed to just sitting and viewing all the good work that our people do. And I thank you and everybody else who did this. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, you got something?
I think it's good also to range expectations in public. When you do lay out risks, you, in a sense, sort of drop a shoe as to where it can be, and what you plan to do under those circumstances. And managing expectations has got to be a big part of our job.
We're going to try to take a crack at that, and we're going to see if we can do that the next meeting, and if not, we'll do it the meeting after. But I'd like to start it as soon as possible so that this committee becomes more useful, and any input from the members would be gratefully appreciated. I know Linda doing a great job, but she could use some help if we. And Carter Burgess, of course, if you'd like to chime in on how to make this more useful, we'd love to hear it too. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move. Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor? We're done.